The crystal chandelier cast dancing shadows across 200 faces as my mother stood at the microphone. Madison's wedding was perfect, white roses everywhere, champagne flowing, string quartet playing softly. I sat at the family table, smiling like I was supposed to. "I want to thank my beautiful Madison," Mom said, her voice carrying across the lawn, "for finally giving this family a bride we can be proud of." She turned, looking directly at me. Unlike her sister, 34 years old, still single, no children, nothing to show for herself. The champagne glass nearly slipped from my hand. 200 pairs of eyes found me in the silence. My father stood next, adjusting his bow tie. Robert Morrison never did anything quietly. "Since we're all family here," he announced, "Patricia and I have decided to update our will. Everything, the house, the company, the properties, goes to Madison. She understands family values. Sarah only understands herself." I thought about the 10 years I spent caring for Mom during her cancer treatment. The engagement ring I returned to Ethan, the mayor's son, because family came first. Nobody remembered that now. Nobody ever would. Madison glided over in her wedding dress, all smiles and white silk. She pressed an envelope into my hands. "For you, sis," she said loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. Guests smiled, probably expecting a heartfelt note. I opened it later, behind the rose garden. $500 in cash. A note. "Next month's rent, you'll need it when Mom and Dad kick you out." When I returned, guests were applauding. They thought it was a thank you gift. I let them think it. I walked straight to Madison, pulled her into a tight hug, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "You deserve everything." My voice didn't shake. My smile didn't crack. Inside, I was counting. 7 days until they left for their second honeymoon in France. 7 days until I had the house to myself. 7 days to find out what they'd been hiding. My hands were trembling as I held that envelope. Nobody noticed. I stayed until the last guest left. I helped stack chairs, collected abandoned wine glasses, and thanked the caterers. I played the role of perfect older sister while my family watched, satisfied. Psychology degree, remember? I knew what they expected: jealous outburst, angry scene, proof I was unstable. Instead, I gave them compliance, made them believe I was broken. Dad pulled me aside at midnight. "Sarah, we need you to watch the house while we're gone. And the office." He dangled the keys. I was already in. Mom called me to her bedroom the next morning. She was crying or pretending to. "Sweetheart, I only said those things to motivate you. You need a push to change your life." I sat on her bed, held her hand, nodded along. "I understand, Mom." She had no idea I'd stopped believing her 2 years ago. That night I found the email. The night everything changed. "You're such a good daughter," she whispered. If only she knew what kind of daughter I'd become. Dad handed me the office keys in his study. "You can use my desk while I'm gone. Handle any calls." "But Sarah," he pointed to the red filing cabinet in the corner. "Don't open that. Those are confidential documents, client privilege." "Of course, Dad." I already had a copy of that key. Had it made 6 months ago. Knew exactly what was inside. But he didn't need to know that yet. "I'm trusting you," he said. The irony almost made me laugh. My phone buzzed at 2 a.m. Madison. "Hey, sis. Ethan asked about you at the reception. Told him you're seeing someone new. You're not mad, right?" Ethan, the man I gave up for this family. Now a successful criminal defense attorney. Madison knew exactly what she was doing. I typed back, "Not at all. Thanks for covering for me." Let her think she'd won. For now. I arrived at their house at 5 a.m. with coffee and pastries. "Let me drive you to the airport," I offered. Dad looked surprised but pleased. In the car, he mentioned the red cabinet 3 more times. "Remember, Sarah, don't open it. It's important. Mom gave me the safe combination, for emergencies only." I'd known that combination for 18 months. But I smiled and wrote it down like it was new information. At the airport, I took a selfie with them. Posted it immediately. Mom and Dad starting their 35th anniversary trip. The comments poured in. "Such a loving family. You're so lucky, Sarah." I waved until they disappeared through security. Kept smiling until I got back to my car. Then I sat in the parking lot for 10 minutes, completely still, staring at nothing. I dialed my attorney. "Richard, it's Sarah Morrison. I need to see you today." "Yes, it's urgent. I'm ready to move forward. 2 years of planning, 2 years of collecting evidence, 2 years of being invisible while I built my case. What changed? He asked. Nothing, I said. I'm just done waiting. The Morrison estate gate creaked open. I drove through slowly, looking at it differently now. This wasn't home anymore. It was a crime scene. The magnolia trees Mom planted when I was born lined the driveway. I used to think they were beautiful. Now they just looked like accomplices, pretty things hiding ugly roots. I parked and sat for a moment. When I stepped out of that car, I wouldn't be their daughter anymore. I'd be their auditor. Dad's office smelled like leather and bourbon. His desk was massive, meant to intimidate. The red filing cabinet sat in the corner, exactly where it had been for 15 years. I remembered being 12, asking what was inside. Business things, he'd said. Nothing a little girl needs to worry about. I wasn't a little girl anymore. And I was about to prove just how much I understood about business. I opened my laptop and typed an email to myself. Day 1. Find the truth. They think I'm a failure. They're wrong. My hand hovered over the send button. This was it. The moment I stopped being Sarah the daughter and became Sarah the whistleblower. I hit send. Then I turned to face the red cabinet. 10 years ago, Ethan proposed with his grandmother's ring at sunset on Folly Beach. Perfect moment, perfect man. His father was the mayor. His future was limitless. I said no. My mother has cancer, I told him. I can't leave her now. Everyone called me foolish. She'll understand, they said. But I stayed. Canceled my life to care for her. What they didn't tell me? Stage 1 cancer. Completely treatable. She recovered within 2 years but kept me as her nurse anyway. It was convenient for her. I wasn't unemployed like they told everyone at the wedding. I was a CPA certified public accountant. I worked from home, managing Dad's company books, filing tax returns, reconciling accounts. Full-time work, 0 pay. Family doesn't charge family, Dad always said. Meanwhile, Madison got $10,000 monthly for showing up at the office. Her job description? Smile at clients? Post on Instagram. I built the financial foundation of Morrison Properties. She got the credit and the paycheck. 5 years ago, Dad needed someone to sign the company tax returns. Just a formality, he said. You're the accountant. Your name gives it credibility. I was young, trusting. I signed. What I didn't know then, if the IRS ever investigated, I'd be the first person charged. My signature was on everything. Dad made sure of it. But I kept copies. Every single document. Even then, some part of me knew. It happened on a Tuesday night. 2 years ago, 3 days before my 32nd birthday. I was working late at Dad's office, finalizing quarterly reports. His computer was open. An email notification popped up. I shouldn't have looked. But I did. Subject: The Sarah Problem. From Robert Morrison to Madison Morrison. Don't worry about Sarah demanding her share. She's too weak to fight and too lonely to find allies. If we threaten to kick her out, she'll sign whatever we want. And if the IRS comes, we'll give them Sarah. Her signature is everywhere. My hands went numb. I read it 3 times, each word burning deeper. Madison's response was worse. What if she finds out? Dad's reply, she won't. And even if she does, she loves this family too much to betray us. Sarah is our perfect insurance policy. I sat in that leather chair for 2 hours. Didn't move. Didn't cry. Just breathed. When I finally stood up, something inside me had fundamentally changed. The daughter they knew was gone. Someone else had taken her place. I didn't scream. Didn't confront them. Didn't break down. Instead, I created a new email account, opened a private cloud storage, and began documenting everything. If they wanted insurance, I'd give them insurance. Just not the kind they expected. That night, I stopped loving my family. It was like waking from a long dream. Suddenly, everything was clear. Everything made sense. They'd never seen me as a daughter. Just a tool, a scapegoat, a backup plan. Over the next 2 years, I worked in silence. Every fraudulent tax return, scanned and uploaded, every questionable transaction, documented with dates and amounts. I recorded conversations when they thought I wasn't listening, saved emails they forgot to delete, photographed documents they left on desks. They thought I was just Sarah, dutiful, and dense. They had no idea they were being investigated by someone who knew their systems better than they did. Family dinners became reconnaissance missions. I wore a small recorder to every Sunday lunch. "We'll just move that income off the books," Dad told his partner once. "Sarah handles the paperwork. She'll never question it." I smiled and passed the potatoes while the device in my pocket captured everything. 26 recordings. Each one a nail in the coffin I was building. The retirement fund. That's when I knew they weren't just unethical, they were criminals. Dad had embezzled $2 million from employee retirement accounts. 30 people who'd worked for Morrison Properties for decades. Their futures stolen to cover his gambling debts. Federal crime. Minimum 10-year sentence. I had the bank statements, the transfer records, everything. Last Christmas, we sat around the table. Mom carved the turkey. Madison showed off her engagement ring. Dad made a toast about family being everything. I smiled and raised my glass. Inside my head, I was counting 12 federal charges, evidence for every single one, enough to put you away for 20 years. They had no idea the person passing the cranberry sauce was cataloging their crimes. The morning they left for France, Dad handed me the keys to the red cabinet. "Emergency access only, Sarah. These documents are extremely sensitive." I took them with appropriately serious gratitude. He didn't know I'd made copies 6 months earlier, had already read every file, already knew about the forged contracts, the bribery, the shell companies. This was just theater, and I was giving an Oscar-worthy performance. Mom kissed my cheek. "Water my orchids, dear. Clean the guest rooms. We're having important visitors when we return." "Of course, Mom." She thought I'd spend the week dusting and arranging flowers. She had no idea I'd be spending it building a federal case against her husband and daughter. "You're such a blessing," she said. I wondered if she'd still think so when the FBI showed up. I waved from the driveway as their car disappeared. Perfect daughter, perfect goodbye. Then I walked back inside, went straight to Dad's office, and opened the red cabinet. Time to finish what I'd started 2 years ago. Inside, forged contracts, pre-signed blank checks, a list of employees who didn't exist, ghost workers whose salaries went straight to offshore accounts. I'd seen it all before, but now I documented everything properly. Photos with timestamps, detailed notes, chain of custody for evidence. This wasn't personal revenge anymore. This was a federal investigation. And I was the star witness. The contract buried at the bottom made my stomach turn. Morrison Properties had sold land to the city for 3 times its actual value. The difference? $500,000 in bribes to city officials. Dad's handwriting on the margin. Usual arrangement, MC gets his cut. MC. Mayor Caldwell, Ethan's father. This just got complicated. Then I found it. The smoking gun I didn't even know existed. A corporation called S. Morrison Consulting LLC. My name. My social security number. My forged signature on the incorporation documents. This shell company had received millions in consulting fees, laundered money from Dad's various schemes. All traceable to me. If anyone investigated, I'd go to prison while Dad walked free. I found the email in Dad's saved folder. His attorney. "If problems arise, shift liability to Sarah Morrison. Her signature authorizes the tax filings. The shell company is in her name. She's your firewall." Dad's response, "Perfect. She trusts me completely." I read it twice. Felt nothing. I'd moved past anger into something colder. Calculation. Strategy. They'd built a cage with my name on it. Time to show them what happens when the cage door swings the other way. I didn't just photograph the documents. I scanned every page at high resolution, created certified copies, built a complete digital archive with metadata showing when each file was accessed. This evidence would hold up in federal court. I'd made sure of it. Richard, my attorney, had taught me well. "Document everything like you're building a criminal case," he'd said. Because you are. I had administrative access to the company's email server. Dad gave it to me years ago so I could handle IT issues. I downloaded everything, every email sent or received in the last 7 years. Thousands of messages documenting fraud, bribery, money laundering. The digital trail was complete. Hidden in Dad's desk, I found their strategy for after France. Step 1. Force Sarah to sign away inheritance rights. Step 2. If she refuses, use the shell company to threaten her with fraud charges. Step 3. If she still resists, file theft charges for stealing confidential documents. They'd planned my destruction down to the last detail. Too bad I'd planned better. I returned everything to its exact position, wiped down surfaces, left no trace of my presence. The red cabinet looked untouched. Dad's desk was pristine. To anyone looking, nothing had changed. Except for one small detail. In the back corner of the red cabinet, I left a tiny note. Just 3 words in my handwriting. I know everything. They'd find it when they returned. Panic, scramble, make mistakes. Good. Let them feel what fear tastes like. Her name was Diana Reeves. 15 years ago, Dad had defrauded her family's construction business, forcing them into bankruptcy. She joined the IRS specifically to investigate financial crimes. When I called, she remembered the Morrison name. "I've been waiting for this call," she said. We met in a coffee shop downtown. I slid the USB drive across the table. Everything you need to prosecute Robert Morrison and his daughter Madison. Ethan looked older, but good. Still wore the same cologne. Still smiled the same way. "Sarah Morrison," he said, standing when I entered his office. "It's been a long time. I need a criminal defense attorney's advice," I said. "Not for me, for my family." I showed him the evidence. Watched his face change as he realized the scope of it. "My God, Sarah, this is federal racketeering. I know. Are you ready to lose your family?" Ethan asked quietly. "Because that's what this means. Prison time. Public scandal. They'll never forgive you." I met his eyes. "You don't understand, Ethan. I never had a family. I just had people who used me." He nodded slowly. "Then let's make sure you're protected when this explodes." We talked for 3 hours. By the time I left, I had a legal team and a plan. I packed my belongings from the guest house. Not much. I'd been living like a visitor in my own family's home for years. Everything fit in my car. Clothes, laptop, my CPA certification, and one photo. Me and Mom, 10 years ago, when I still believed family meant something. I left it on the dresser. Didn't need it anymore. On the dining room table, I left an envelope. "Dear Mom and Dad, I completed my assignment. I investigated everything, just like you asked. See you in court. Sarah." I locked the door and drove away. Didn't look back. That chapter was over. The next one would be written in a courtroom. 5 days later, I walked into Ethan's law firm's annual charity gala. Red dress, professional styling, head held high. The room went quiet for just a moment. I'd spent years making myself invisible. Tonight, I wanted to be seen. "Is that Sarah Morrison?" someone whispered. I barely recognized her. Neither did I. The woman in the mirror wasn't the daughter they'd broken. She was someone new, someone stronger. People approached me all evening. "You look wonderful, Sarah. We didn't know you were in town. How's the family?" "Complicated," I said with a smile. "You'll hear all about it soon." They laughed, thinking it was a joke. Ethan stayed close, protective. His hand on my back felt like the first real support I'd had in years. Mom called Ethan's phone at 9 p.m. I'd blocked their numbers, so they found another way. "Sarah needs to come home immediately," she said. "We found something disturbing in your father's office." The note. They'd found my note. "Tell her I'm busy," I said. They'd flown home 2 days early, panicking. Good. Let them panic. According to the private investigator I'd hired to watch the house, Dad tore apart his office looking for what I'd taken. Mom called my phone 63 times. Madison posted on Instagram, "Family emergency. Please pray for us." They didn't know where I was. Didn't know what I'd done. Only knew that their carefully constructed house of cards was about to collapse. Dad burst into the gala with 2 private security guards. 150 people turned to stare. "Sarah," he roared across the ballroom, "return those documents immediately." Silence. Complete, frozen silence. I stood calmly, still holding my champagne. Ethan's hand tightened on my arm, but I shook my head. I'd been waiting for this moment. "My daughter stole confidential business documents," Dad shouted, pointing at me. "She's trying to destroy our family company." Madison ran in behind him, still in her honeymoon clothes. "Sarah, please. We're family. Whatever's wrong, we can fix it." Mom appeared, tears streaming. "Baby, come home. We forgive you." Forgive me." The audacity almost made me laugh. I walked to the center of the room, set down my glass, looked directly at my father. "I didn't steal anything," I said clearly. "I reported crimes, federal crimes." The room held its breath. "Robert Morrison has committed tax fraud totaling $4.2 million over 15 years. He embezzled $2 million from employee retirement funds. He bribed city officials with $500,000. And he forged documents in my name to use me as a scapegoat, if caught." I pulled a USB drive from my purse. Every document, every email, every transaction, I gave it all to the IRS, the FBI, and the district attorney's office. The investigation opens Monday morning. The room erupted. Guests grabbed phones. Reporters pushed forward. Dad's face went white. He dropped to his knees. "Sarah, please, I'm your father." "No," I said quietly. "A father protects his children. You used me. There's a difference." FBI agents entered through the back doors Ethan had called them when Dad made his scene. They approached with badges raised. "Robert Morrison, Madison Morrison, you're under arrest." As they handcuffed my father and sister, Dad looked at me. "How could you do this?" I met his eyes one last time. "You taught me everything I know about business, Dad, including how to protect myself from people who see me as collateral damage." I took Ethan's hand and walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. Behind me, my old life was being led away in handcuffs. Ahead of me, finally, was freedom. 6 months later, I stood in my new office overlooking Charleston Harbor. Morrison Financial Consulting. My company, my name, my rules. The IRS whistleblower reward, $1.8 million. Robert Morrison's sentence, 8 years federal prison. Madison's plea deal, 3 years. Mom divorced, Dad cooperated with investigators, lost everything but her freedom. My phone buzzed. "Ethan, dinner tonight? I'm thinking about that ring again." I smiled. 10 years ago, I'd given up that ring for people who never deserved the sacrifice. Now I was getting it back, but different. Earned, not given. Chosen, not obligated. The Charleston Post sat on my desk. Front page, Morrison Empire Falls daughter turned whistleblower brings down family dynasty. They called me a betrayer, a vindictive daughter, a family destroyer. They were wrong. I was just a woman who learned the difference between loyalty and self-destruction, between family and people who share your name, between love and manipulation. I'd spent 34 years being the daughter they wanted, quiet, obedient, invisible. Now I was the woman I needed to be, and I'd never been stronger.